right. Good day, good afternoon, good evening. Buenos dias to everyone out there. Welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your co-host, DJ Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, TDT. It is Wednesday, May the 20th, 2026, and if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Men Speak. So, with that being said, if you haven't already, please hit that like button uh, and subscribe to our channel. And hit the notification bell also. New shows are uploaded every night at 9 p.m. Central Time, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. If you're not here watching the show live, you can stream it later on. And if you're here watching the show live, invite a friend, family member, a neighbor, coworker, or a frenemy to come watch the show so you have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. With that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best. We just bring information to social media about what's going on in the world, in our humble opinion.
all right, good deal. All right, folks, we're going to start off with a moment of silence for a couple of ancestors that we have lost within the last week. So, for those of you who have been in a sports game, well, in football in particular, for quite a while, we have lost Sherman Lewis, who is a former coach and player a long time ago. Actually, for those
Sherman Lewis passed away?
Yes, he did. He passed away. And then also, for those of you who
Oh,
like the blues in particular, we lost another icon, Clarence Carter. You may not know the name, but you definitely know some of his music. Probably the most famous song that you would know by Clarence Carter is "Stroking."
okay.
So let's take a moment of silence to honor both of these great men. So we definitely want to send our condolences to the families who are in the mourning period in the grave loss of these two iconic men in their respective spheres, also, and those who have been impacted in a way, one way or another. Jimmy,
And Tom, how did this fly under the radar? I didn't hear about that. I've been watching ESPN, getting playoff news, man. I hadn't heard them mention his
yeah,
death.
this just happened in the last couple of days. So I remember,
Wow.
yeah, I remember Sherman Lewis. I didn't remember him as a player, but
I remember as a coach. I didn't see him as a player.
exactly. Actually, he was went to Michigan State. One fact that I found out in doing the research, he was third in the Heisman running back in the day, and this was in the '60s. Jimmy, he was third in
Okay.
the Heisman running when he came out as a senior. So, very
And who
very.
was the other brother?
Clarence Carter, he was a blues musician.
Tom, you look like a blues player.
Yes,
I mean, that boy, if you were to describe a blues player, boy, that's the image that you would get right there. Boy, I looked at that brother. I said, yeah, that's a blues man right there. No
yeah,
doubt about it.
from Montgomery, Alabama. Been around for a long time, had a lot of big hits. But for those of you who listen to the blues and you remember that
I
song,
do.
I mean, "Stroke It." That's the song
Yeah.
he's probably most famous for than anything else. So, yeah, both of these men are definitely
I'm
well
familiar
known.
with the song. I didn't know that was him though. Yeah, big blues fan myself. Okay.
And the other thing that I was not aware of, I knew he always wore the shades, but he was blind since birth, actually.
Really?
And he was a singer, songwriter, and musician. So again, kind of like Stevie Wonder, he was one of those guys that was able to overcome severe obstacles in terms of being able to reach his level of brilliance.
Well, Tom, they don't cut them like that anymore, man. So, okay.
Yeah, it's a different thing these days.
These kids grow up now, boy. They don't get everything handed to them. They just don't know how to function in life. They go sit in the corner with their Play-Doh. Um,
That is very true. That is very true. So why don't we do this? We'll start off with sports and some sports stories. We've been tracking the NBA playoffs. We're now in the conference finals. So I think Jimmy, I think this was our the last bracket that we talked about. I did take an L on the Detroit Pistons Cleveland Cavaliers
I
series.
went 4 for 4, Tom. Just for the record, I'm the only one picked Cleveland
Yep, you
with
only one
you and
pick.
my family. So I was 4 for 4 in the semi final playoffs here. So
Yeah, I was 3 out of 4 on this one. I mean, again, I was more familiar with Cleveland and Detroit, but it was. I'm not going to say that Detroit just kind of blew it, but considering what happened after they almost got blown in the first round, I guess I should have expected this.
that's why I didn't trust him, Tom, and went with Cleveland. And I was happy the other night watching the game because I picked them against New York. Um, Man, I walked away for a few minutes, Tom. They were up 7 minutes left, up 22
22
points.
points.
And I walked away to go fix me something to eat, a little snack. I came back and we talked about overtime. I was like, what happened?
Yeah,
New York had scored 25 points in the first 3 quarters. And all of a sudden, like, okay, they 22 behind. What's the chance they're going to score over 20 points in this quarter and come
yeah,
back? But
yeah.
they did, Tom.
They
Evidently,
Cleveland went on
Bronson
a
did a job on Harden. Harden had no answer for him, no defense. Um,
Well, and I saw the last part of the game. I mean, Cleveland just went on a major drought. I mean, they couldn't drop anything. I mean, and one thing that I find is very interesting, Jimmy, about today's game, and I find this almost irritating because when you grow up in the 70s and 80s with some of the best basketball, arguably, that was ever played in the early 90s, these 3 point, I mean, this whole 3 point thing that it seems like our teams have gotten very lazy. Even the teams that have some defense have
you
gotten
live
very,
by it, Tom, you're going to die by it. Ask Boston.
yeah, exactly.
Sometimes if it's falling for you, it's great. But when the shot is not there, especially in the fourth quarter when your legs are tired, you're not jumping quite as high on the jump shot. Um, that's when it's most likely going to, unless you have some fresh legs, that's a good chance. But Tom, when the jump shot is not falling, that's when you have to start attacking the basket. And Mitchell and Harden are great at driving to the basket, and those two just gave up on him. And everybody was shooting threes
Yep.
and
Yep.
allowed New York to get back in the game. What was hard? I mean, what was Bronson doing at the other end? He wasn't shooting threes. He was attacking the basket. He was
Exactly.
taking
And
a
kicking it
he,
and kicking it out.
and kicking it out. So if they did shoot a three, but most of their points came from him from attacking the basket. They got a few 3 pointers, um, down the stretch, but from him kicking it out time. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that collapse, man. And Harden didn't do anything, Tom, to help slow the stretch. He missed 3 pointers. He wouldn't drive. He may have drove once or twice, scored one. He had what 9, 10, 11. He had nothing for the amount of money they pay him. You need to be coming through with 25. I mean, Mitchell came through with his. I think he had 29 points or 30 points. But Harden didn't do anything to match that kind of energy time scoring wise. And he didn't play any defense on the other side.
Well, he's not really known for his defense, but I think that Detroit, the coaching on Detroit's side ended up coming through, and maybe Cleveland just ran out of gas, man, after this last game. I mean, New York had fresh legs. Cleveland coming out after a 7 game series, man, and then maybe they just ran out of gas towards the end of the game because they just could not buy a shot, in that fourth quarter.
Well, tell me they couldn't buy a shot, but also they didn't play any defense.
Hmm.
You got one guy pretty much killing you down the stretch. I mean, look at San Antonio what they do to SGA. When they doubling him, he crosses mid-court with the ball in his hand. They send 2 guys at him. The time down and get the ball out of his hand. I mean, he still scored 24 in the game, but it was a soft 24 time. It was this doesn't even matter kind of 24. He didn't dominate the game, and they want to let him dominate the game. He mainly got his points off free throw line down the stretch. A point is a point though, Tom, but still, you got to step up. This is playoff time. You got to step up and play some good defense. And And Cleveland just didn't play good defense down the stretch against New York. Bronson just killed them.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. And the other thing that, even though he didn't have a, huge scoring game, Carl Anthony Towns is a different beast, and you can't just sit up under the basket like they were able to do Cleveland in the last game. And Carl Anthony Towns, you have to play him the entire court, and I think he stretched. What's the brother's name who is the center for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Jared Allen, I think is his name.
Okay, yes.
And Jared Allen was taking control of that last series, but this is a different team. Carl Anthony Towns is an inside guy. Carl Anthony Towns has a perimeter game, and I think he stretched out Jared Allen, so Jared Allen couldn't just go in there and control the goalpost man, and so that gave Bronson, I think, a lot of space to go in and work that just didn't happen in the prior series, man. So they're
Well,
gonna
Tom, now that New York has a strategy, guess what's going to happen tomorrow night? They're gonna ride that to the end.
right.
So I'll put the ball in Bronson's hand, let him go to work, and let him kick out if he doesn't have the shot. Otherwise, take the shot. So and then let the chips fall where they fall. Well, how about the San Antonio Oklahoma City game, Tommy? I don't know if you watch it or not.
I did not see the. You know what? I was watching that game earlier, and I was like, you know what, this game, and I'm not going to say it was going to be over with early, but I was like, let me go ahead and relax for a little while, man. And I was going to pick it back up in the fourth quarter. I messed around and fell asleep and didn't realize it until like probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I got up accidentally, realized the TV was still on, and I was like, they went into double overtime, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. San Antonio came back, took the game from Oklahoma City.
And on top of that, Tom, I remember, so I used to be a big Magic fan back in the day, big Laker fan because of Magic. I remember the last championship that the Lakers were in with Magic, and I mean, he had just been diagnosed with AIDS, and he was still playing. And they played against Chicago, and they lost that series, I believe 5-1 to Chicago, and that was a turning point for the stretch run that the Chicago Bulls made winning championships with Jordan. I mean, it's a new sheriff in town. Tom, I think we're starting to see that kind of moment with Wembley. Here's a guy 7'4" that's completely dominating the game, and whoever wins this series is going to win the championship. Um, and this guy is young. Their team is young. Castle, Fox, what's the other guy named the sixth player of the year? I can't think of his name. Say Fox, Castle. There's another guy. I think his name starts with H. Um,
Okay.
but anyway, and with Wembley, when Wembley's on that court, the whole game is different.
It
You know,
is.
I mean, when he's off the court getting a breather, that's when Oklahoma City has a chance to do something, to come back, to get back in the game, to claw their way back in. But when he was on that court, Tom, he is a difference maker. And I hope that now that he's played, I think in the double overtime, he played a total of 49 minutes. His coach get out of this trying to manage his minutes nonsense. That this guy's capable of playing the whole game. If you got to play him 48 minutes, he's capable of doing that and resting on commercial breaks and timeouts. Um, he didn't seem like he was winning out of shape or blowing hard to me. And if you need to, put an oxygen tank on the sideline and let him come over there and get a breather if you have to, and put him back in the game. But otherwise, if he's on that court, as long as he's on that court, you have a good chance of winning.
Gotcha. Now
Dobby,
yeah, he
go
he
ahead.
he is already in his very young career in very rare company in terms of his triples, in terms of the impact that he even had in the last series against Minnesota. So this dude, and they've been talking about this for a long time. He is the real deal, and he is now showing it.
That is true, Tom. He is definitely showing it, man. And I mean, here's the thing that was a turning point for me. I know when he first got there, it was kind of iffy situation between him and Castle because there are times that it seemed like Castle wanted to be the man for San Antonio. He was going to be the team was going to be built around him, and all of a sudden Wembley comes there. But there were moments that he gave the ball up down the stretch, put in the hands of Wembley to take the last shot, to score a basket, to keep them in the game. So to me, I was like, okay, if those point guards, if Fox and Castle get right, the other thing is they need to start throwing the ball a little higher on the entry pass to the post. They throw it shoulder high where whoever's guarding him has a chance to tip the ball away. But if you throw the ball up in the air, let them jump up and get it, there are very few that's going to match 7'4" with like an 8 foot something wingspan and go out there and get the ball from him if you throw it up in the air. That's even Holgram in the Oklahoma City. I think their center. He's a 7 footer also,
Right,
but
he is.
um, I don't think neither one of them can out jump Wembley if it comes down to it. So stop throwing the ball chest high to the man. Throw the ball up in the air. Let him go up there with them long ass arms of his and that 7'4" body of his and get the damn ball. But yeah, he was outstanding, Tom. I mean, it was very impressive. And it was like, okay, this is Chicago versus the Lakers. A new sheriff is starting to emerge in town, and that sheriff name is Wembley.
Oh,
So this may be the last MVP for SGA because I'm pretty sure next, especially if they go on to win the championship, Tom. Oh yeah, he's gonna really clown next year.
so so am I hearing you picking San Antonio over OKC?
Yes, I picked San Antonio over KC and then Cleveland over New York.
Okay, I'm going to pick New York over Cleveland. I'm going to pick OKC over San Antonio.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right, good deal. So one of us going to be 2-0 and one of us going to be. Let's
Yes.
see what
Well,
happens.
I'm in another pool also. My family, my brother and his sons, and so I'm in second place now. So I'm the only one pick Cleveland with that tournament also. And so if Cleveland wins, then I'll only be 2 points behind, and I'll be forced. It's like I damn to be forced to take Cleveland in the championship, even though I'm cheering for San Antonio.
All right, good deal.
'Cause I know everybody's gonna go with San Antonio. So
Gotcha. All right, with other NBA news, one of the local favorites is now out. Jason Kidd, former All Star point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, also, of course, the coach for the last 5 years, has been relieved of his duties as coach, Jimmy. And I don't know if people were expecting this to happen or not, but it kind of came as a little bit of a jerk,
it's a little bit of a surprise, Tom.
a surprise.
The new president, whose name I can't pronounce, I know you can, but because you kept up with him from Toronto, I didn't. But evidently, he's been firing people left and right, Tom, cleaning the back office out, and he's going to bring in his own people. And evidently, the owners have given him carte blanche to do so. So everybody who was involved in the Luca deal is pretty much gone.
Well, that'll be interesting because I can't really say that Jason Kidd was involved in the Luca deal in terms of the decision criteria. I remember the interview that they had with him, and trying not to look totally stunned during the interview. He said, hey, it's a business decision, which he pretty much said, I didn't have nothing to do with it, but this is how it goes.
Well, the rumor that I heard, Tom, from some sports reporters, nobody was on the record for saying it, but they were speculating that he's basically cleaning house of everybody who was involved in the Luca deal. So good, bad, or indifference, if you were around and when it happened,
And I guess what's
you're
the
out.
strategy when you say everybody's involved? I mean, the question is, so what Luca was traded? Why? I mean, I guess what is the logic in cleaning house with everybody involved with the Luca
Well, I
trade?
guess that brought the downfall of the Mavericks down when Luca got traded.
Well,
So,
downfall.
I mean, basically they went from at least 30, we having a winning record of 42 plus, generally a 50-game winners every year, to now being a lottery pick. So, I mean, the decline happened really quickly in the struggles. So, um,
Well, I mean, when you don't have your point guard there, of course, Kyrie Irving has been out. He's been injured beat up for the last couple of years. Pretty much been a non-factor. That's pretty significant. Obviously, Luca is going to count for a lot of wins, but obviously he can't count for a championship because he doesn't
right.
have the defense. So I think really the unfortunate thing for the Mavericks is that they got rid of someone that they probably did need to get rid of, but they didn't get anything of significant value for them,
Right. They did not.
which I think was the greatest or the most egregious thing that happened to that. So
They would have been better off getting a couple of draft picks, high placed draft picks, if nothing else. Yeah, they got very little for time. So, but the other rumor out there is that Kyrie may get traded away.
I would not be surprised.
So
I would not
that
be.
that the new president wants the team to be younger, faster, stronger, and so that means getting rid of a lot of the old weight around there on the team to bring in young, fresh players. So
Yeah.
and a coach that's capable of teaching them how to play and win in the NBA.
And the question is, who's out there and who's the right fit at this point? Because
Well, some of these guys, Tom, that like Oklahoma's coach, I never heard of him. I mean, when he got the job, and then when Denver fired their coach, that guy I never heard of. So I guess there's some guys out there that you can pull up out of the college ranks, maybe that maybe do a better job with coaching these young kids.
gotcha. It'll be interesting bringing up Denver because I mean I mean it just seems like yesterday that they won a championship and everybody was gonna have to go through Denver and I'm not gonna say Denver's irrelevant because they're not, but at the end of the day, now you've got Oklahoma City who's young, who's strong. You've got now San Antonio who's very young and who is strong. And what do you do with Denver? Do you fire his coach too?
That's up for their owners, Tom. We'll see what happens. It looks like they're going to stick it out with their current coach. So, um, with that being said, Tom, let's while we're on sports, let's talk about this NAACP in the Score Act and this
Yes.
whole SEC mess that they've created for themselves. Now, just out of total honesty, I do abhor some of these black organizations only because they to me they're do nothing organizations. Um, but Tom, I pretty much blew a gasket listening to King Jeffries talk the other night. That's the first time I'd heard about this. So, but why don't you go ahead and fill us in on the details of what's going on with this story?
So at the high level, and without getting into a lot of details, the NAACP, backed by the Congressional Black Caucus, is calling for a boycott for the southern states that have, in essence, redistricted or what some people call gerrymandered their states in order to eliminate the electoral potential of several Democratic and or significantly black states, black not black states but black states with a lot of significant black cities. Probably the most prominent recently was Memphis, where they basically split it into three in order to get more votes out of there. So what they're saying is they want to target major D1 institutions that are in these states in order to influence them to go to states that don't seem to be so egregiously political.
Okay, and let me address the gerrymandering for a second. Even though states have the right to draw their district lines based on population however they want, there's about 700,000 people per district, and so they can draw those lines however they want. That's a right. The Constitution gives them that right. But Tom, when I look at states like Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, just for starters, do you realize these states, all of them, are 40% Republican, over 50 some percent, over half Democrat, but there's not one Republican district in those states. They have gerrymandered Republican representation out of these states completely. And so when you have states like Oregon and California and New York who do the same, do as much as they can to squeeze Republicans out, don't be surprised when Republicans get a green light in some of these southern states that are run by Republicans that they're going to do the same. So that I mean that's just tit for tat. It may not be fair. It may not be the right thing to do, but states have the right to draw those lines however they want, as long as those lines are not drawn by race, by gender, by some protected class, age. Um, but if you want to draw them by income, you want to draw them by geography. Hell, you want to draw them by the freeway lines in your state. You can. You want to do it by party identification, you can, just as long as it's not part of a protected class, a group of a protected class that you're drawing it by. And so the only way this nation is going to get past this race issue, Tom, and get race behind us, is to get it behind us. We got to stop doing things by color and by race and just put it behind us once and for all. Now, this doesn't mean that black politicians won't be elected. Byron Donaldson represents a white district in Florida, majority white. Akeem Jeffries represents a white district. What's the guy from New Jersey? Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey. That's a white state. Here in Texas, we got James, who represents a white district. We have Ted Cruz, who's our senator. He's Hispanic. So white people do vote for black people. Believe it or not, Obama, being the most famous of all of them, he got elected twice. He didn't get elected with black and brown votes. Time he got elected with white people, voting for him. So all this nonsense about we're losing our right to vote and we won't be able to vote and we won't be elected, that's not true. People will elect people who represent them well. And let's just face it, my biggest complaint against the Congressional Black Caucus is and always been they don't do anything, Tom. They don't do anything for black people. They are the deciding vote, even though they're small, group of 50. But between Republicans and Democrats, they can leverage their vote to both sides to support things, to get things done for black people, and they don't. So that's my biggest complaint against them. You're not sent to Washington to be for your allegiance to the Democrat Party. You're sent to Washington to represent your constituents and get whatever you can. If you got to make a deal with the devil, go make it. If that means getting something for the people who put you in office. Don't sit there and say, "Well, I'm a Democrat, so I got to toe the Democrat line." No, you don't. You there representing the people who sent you there, not the Democrat Party. What say you?
What I would say is this: there are a couple of things. When over the last year, you have someone who is in the White House who is egregiously asked to, I need you to find me some seats, and then you go and specifically target, just happen to specifically target cities and cut them, slice them, and dice them up to get rid of black representations. Then yeah, you're going to get some pushback on it. I mean, that's the very short, simple part of it. And yeah, there's
Tom,
gerrymandering.
he asked people to go find them seats, Tom, and votes.
Well, obviously, that's the only way that he figures he can keep Congress. So he's got to do something. So the
Tom,
bottom part let me finish. But
go ahead.
the bottom part is, yes, you are right. There is going to be redistricting across the board in different states, whether they are Democratic or Republican over a period of time, but over a very short discrete. I mean, even in the state of Texas, when you have someone who says, you know what, we're going to go ahead and re-slice and dice this, but we just so happen to eliminate four plus different representatives for black or brown communities. Well, that's not political. That's race driven. And in terms of the comment, in terms of getting past race, United States is never going to get past race because it has built its economy, it has built everything that is done based upon race. And until it stops doing that and or begins to correct and or remediate that, it will always be about race. It has always been about race in this country, unfortunately.
But
From
Tom,
the,
that's where you and I disagree
well,
because
I mean,
all I see is our
because
nation making progress in racial relations. This is the most. I know the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Finland, and all those places are considered the most egalitarian nations in the world. But I would disagree with that. I think America is, as far as rights here and the fact that you can live wherever you can afford to live. You can work wherever you can get hired to. Um, all of the things that problems that used to exist 50 years ago, 100 years ago, we've gotten past a lot of that. And are we perfect? No. But part of our motto is that we're working towards a more perfect union. And as long as we continue to do that and make progress, that's all you can ask of people. You can't legislate what's in a person's heart. You'll always have some
agree.
people that are out there that are racist, and so that because that's just people, those are just ignorant people, and and especially now, people are becoming more ignorant with AI because they don't have to think for themselves anymore. So, but we're always going to have some degree of racism out there. But the country has made a great deal of progress. When you look at countries like Russia and China, who are very intolerant towards minorities, religious minorities, ethnic minorities, um, Africans especially. Um, you know, America is a haven, and we lead the world in race relations, as far as I'm concerned. You know, and so the point of all this time is that if we have to do a reset and play by some new rules, so what? It's like we haven't overcome obstacles before. That's what we're here for, to demonstrate the strength of God and that we're able to come together and overcome. We overcome slavery, we overcome racism, Jim Crow, the black codes, the pig laws. We overcome forced imprisonment, which is another form of slavery, when the states are leasing prisoners out to the farmers and big companies, at $15 a month rates. That was just another form of slavery. We haven't overcome the bad schools and the structure of the black family, but these are still challenges that are in front of us that we have to deal with. So whatever the environment, whatever it presents to us, Tom, I'm confident that if we get our heads out of following behind white people and their silliness, and we come together and do the things we know we're supposed to do, which is take care of our families, keep our families together, and raise our children, and do what's in our best interest, that we'll be okay.
Fair enough.
So, do we want to continue to vet this out, or we want to go to our next story? Which
Probably, but
these next two stories, Tom, are not going to get us any kudos, maybe from some of our audience. But let me just say this: I'll give you a little cover, Tom. Tom had no cover. Tom had no hand in these next two stories, even though he's our news director. So
true.
he picks
For what
he
it's worth,
picks most of the stories that we
well,
cover and
Jimmy,
talk about.
Jimmy has been picking the stories for about the last 3 or so weeks. So
But
you know
these
what you said, because I've been picking them out for a long time. So
but these next two stories, Tom had no hand in. So if
that's
y'all gonna
true.
throw the stone, don't throw them at Tom, because
That's
you
true.
know. So he's just participating in the discussion. So,
Well,
but these are a couple.
let's do this before we get to those stories, because it may take us possibly to the end of the show. Let's make sure we acknowledge the folks we have on the chat line.
Who do we have on the chat
We
line?
have cousin Isaac here on the chat line. Good evening,
All
and
right, cousin
thank you for
Audrey.
joining us. We have Miss Carol on the cat line, on the chat line. She said, of course, she knew who Clarence Carter was as well. She loved one of his favorite songs. We have Miss Tanya on the chat line. Hey, you too. We've got Frederick B. Roberts Esquire.
Esquire. All right,
So
frat brother.
he's on the chat line as well. Let me see what's like. States have the right, but usually they do not during the next census. The southern states say forget that, and I agree. Blacks can be elected without the black districts, but what is happening now is egregious. And the redistricting in Texas and other states, let me see here, are targeted against persons who spoke out against the president. Okay, he's admitted that much. And let me see here where we got Ms. Carroll go. Ms. Carroll, redistricting was mandated to be redrawn to align with the laws and the Constitution. Trump didn't write the Constitution, so what does he have to do with it?
Miss Carroll is right, because Tom, the courts have determined that these districts were against the Constitution, which means they're against the law. We can't wait. We can't continue to let states break the law for the next 4 years to redistrict. So if you're breaking the law and they determine that you're breaking the law, you got to correct that right away. We don't have 4 years to wait.
Clarify when you say breaking what law when you're talking about redistricting.
Well, first of all, the Constitution is the bedrock of our jurisprudence,
When it's
of our law system.
when it's
And
when
so when something is determined, a rule, a process, a procedure, or a law, to be unconstitutional, that means that is against the law at that point. So it's no longer valid. You can no longer do that. And the government should not be in the law breaking business. The states cannot be in the law breaking business. So if we amend the Constitution says that you can only serve 2 terms, then trying to do a third term and then say we're going to wait 4 years to figure it out or do something about it. No, you can't do that. I mean, the court determined that drawing a district line, a federal district line, with the sole purpose of trying to determine the outcome by race is against the law. So that has to be changed right away. We just can't sit back and let the states continue to break the law and wait 4 more years until the new census kicked in to do that.
Well, it seems like these days what is for or against the law just kind of depends on who's in power right now. So, in the spirit of what you're saying, I would agree. But in terms of execution, that may be a little bit thing. I want to acknowledge Miss Tiffany Smith. I think this is the first time Tiffany has actually been.
Oh, Miss Tiffany, okay.
I want to
Where she? Ask her where she's from. Where's she from?
well, she is from New Jersey, but she is actually coming from Asheville, North Carolina. And
Okay,
we've got Miss Adrienne Melkor. She is listening in this evening.
Adrian.
It's been a little while, a long while since
Yes.
we actually had Adrian on the line. So, want to thank every folks for jumping on the chat line. Maybe we can see this a little bit more often. But with
Well,
that,
and on top of that, don't be a stranger and voice your opinion.
I will do.
So we try to read all the comments on the chat line, so you can chime in as we're talking about it. This is your voice also in your show, so feel free. Oh, sorry about that. I almost knocked my camera over. Yeah, so feel free to chime in with your opinion.
Gotcha. We'll go ahead and move forward to our next stories. But the only comment I'll make in terms of the Constitution, I mean, the Constitution is what it is, but that's why, the courts are very important. That's why voting for something other than the President of the United States and maybe your senator or your representative is extremely important because you have no idea what the long term implications of what your vote is going to be. And especially for those folks who, whatever reason, felt like they didn't have anything to vote for, which is a widening gap in this country as well. There's someone who said elections have consequences, and that's what we're dealing with,
Yes.
consequences.
Well, Tom, the 14th Amendment was put in there for black people and for freed slaves. And part of one of those provisions in the 14th Amendment is equal protection under law. So the federal government has to do its best to treat everyone equally. There are no carve outs for lesbian Libyan lesbians, midgets. There's no carve out for Latinos. There's no carve out for Indians. There's no carve out for anyone in this country except for black people.
And
So
there's
you
a reason
cannot.
why and there was a reason there was a carve out for black people in this country
Okay,
too.
but Tom, if, but once again, the 14th Amendment was put there for free slave. The 13th, 14th, and 15th, the 12th, 13th, and 14th Amendment put there for black people. And one of the provisions is that the government's going to do its absolute best to treat everyone equally and fair. So the equal protection under law means that we're going to try to be as fair as possible. And when you have carve outs that are just for to get black people elected, that's not treating everyone fair. That's what it
No,
is.
it's not a carve out to just get them elected. The carve out is to ensure that their rights are not infringed upon, Jimmy.
Their rights are not infringed. Nobody's rights are infringed. You still have the right to run. You still have the right to go vote. You don't have a guaranteed outcome in America, but your right
Don't
to
worry
vote is
about
still there. People still have the right to go run. I
it. Of
mean,
course,
nothing's changed. You can go file your paperwork and run for office.
of course.
Even in South Carolina, where Claiborne, what's his name?
Jim
Claiborne,
Claiborne. Jim
Claiborne.
Claiborne.
Okay, yeah, from the old holdout dinosaur from the civil rights era, said that this is going to keep black people from being elected. Well, you know what? I guess he forgot to look at his own damn state. And doesn't Tim Scott, a senator from South Carolina, didn't he get elected as a black man? And that state is not majority black. So this just goes to show that maybe we need to give the process a chance before we criticize it too much. That maybe, just maybe, the black politician will just up his game up or her game and find ways to get elected. It's not
Well,
impossible for blacks to get elected.
Jim Clyburn clearly does not have that issue, but he's not speaking for himself specifically or personally.
Yeah, because South Carolina's going to keep his district intact. But the point is that he's making statements that this Supreme Court ruling was going to keep black people from being elected. And what I'm saying is that in your
Well,
own damn state,
it's already eliminating some of their term posts based upon carved up major cities. So if you have a city, Memphis, or whatever you want to call it, that has a significant ethnic composition, and you decide you're just going to split it into three or four pieces in order to weaken their political outcome and getting representation that represents them, well, then you kind of have to scratch your head on that, Jimmy.
well, Tom, once again, the courts have ruled that you can gerryman a district for ideology. Like I said, Massachusetts has no
Yeah,
Republicans, Tom. A
that's not
state
me.
that's 40%, that Trump carried by 40% of the vote. They have zero Republicans in Massachusetts. They have zero Republicans in Connecticut. They have zero Republicans in Rhode Island. The 10 seats that they had in California, California took five of them away from Republicans. I'm saying that and guess what? That's all legal and valid according to the Supreme Court. You want to juryman by ideology, you can. You just can't do it by a protected class. That's all
And
they're
that's
saying.
and that's what's happening, Jimmy. That's the whole point. That's why people.
But the point is, Tom, is that no one cried about it when Massachusetts does it. When
Yeah,
they squeeze out.
but what is the what is the ethnic makeup of Massachusetts, and help me understand how that compares to Mississippi.
I don't know what the ethnic makeup of,
And that's the point. I mean, and I guess the point
but
is,
but but,
if you're dealing on political theology, that is different than doing it on
Tom, the way some black people feel about this is the same way some Republicans feel about it. They feel they're not being represented in their state house. Also, they pay taxes there, they live there,
agree,
they
agree,
contribute there, and they
agree.
have no voice whatsoever because every representative in Massachusetts is a Democrat. So you can do it by you can just kind of carve out and say this just only affects black people, but it's not. Everybody feels offended when they feel that they're being left out or being cheated. But
Agree.
but
Oh,
but
I
if
would
you,
agree with that. I would agree with
but
that.
if you're gonna get rid of the cheating, that's say just do it by zip codes and block them together geographically, starting from the very first one all the way down to the last one, and just group them together in groups of 700,000, and do it that way so nobody can complain. You
Why
know,
don't we?
but
eh, Yeah, I would agree with you, but with us having 20 minutes left in the show, we have a
let's
couple
get
of
on to the
yeah,
next two stories.
yeah, exactly. So we can make sure that we have some time to address it, Jimmy. So I'm going to let
So
you.
the next story, Tom, is a young lady. Just give you the backdrop on the story. A young lady who gets pregnant for a guy who works at McDonald's, making $8 an hour. She decides that she doesn't want him to be the father of her child, even though he is. So she points the finger at another guy who has deeper pockets. She says that he's the father. She gets him on the hook for child support, and then as years go by, the child grows up. The her sister basically rats her out to the son and to this guy to say, hey, you're not really the father, and that's not really your father. And I guess now the guy is suing her to stop the child support, and he wants his money back that he's paid into the system. And now she's wondering who's going to, how's she going to get her bills paid if,
Can we show the video, Jimmy?
sure.
Okay.
16-year-old just found out that his dad isn't his real dad anymore because of my bitter sister. She claims it's for his own good. But in what way is that for his own good? When I found out I was pregnant with my son, I made the logical choice to pick the father that made the most money. His real dad was working at McDonald's for like $8.25 an hour. I don't want that as a man. He was just one of my hoes, and that was that. And I got pregnant, and so I picked the richer dad. And although the richer dad didn't take care of him and hasn't been around, he does pay child support, and he pays a lot, and it pays for a majority of my rent. Well, my sister never liked that, and I finally let her have my son thinking I could trust. And she tells my son and confides in him that his dad isn't his real dad. And now he went and found his real dad behind my back with my sister. And they are all trying to fight and get my son taken away from me. My son doesn't want to live in my house. We haven't talked in 3 days. I think it's the most miserable thing a person can ever do is ruin some shit like that. I picked the right choice. Now who's going to pay my bills now? Because now they also told that the guy that's been on child support all these years, and he's trying to come after me and sue me for all the money he's been paying. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Like,
Tom,
And
it's
I'm like,
ridiculous
and I'm like,
that a
Jimmy,
guy that you frauded wants his money back.
exactly. I mean, this is absolutely asinine, excuse my language, but for lack of a better term, you talk. Okay, she called. I mean, one of her hoes that she ended up getting knocked up by. She takes no ownership or responsibility of procreating with somebody who was not going to be able to take care of her. And now her biggest gripe is who going to pay my bills. Maybe she should have thought about that when she was screwing a guy.
Well, Tom, if the 25% rule kick in for child support, I guess you can get $2 an hour if it's $8 that he gets out of McDonald's. I don't know if it's going to be enough to pay her rent. But like she said, she did the logical thing, Tom.
And that's what stunned me. I did the logical thing by
She did
picking
the
the guy
logical thing.
who made the most money. Maybe the logical thing would be, just marrying the guy who made the most money if that was all that you were looking for in the first place. But it just kind of shows what kind of skank is out there.
And Tom, she feels like she's been wrong in this
And
whole
that's and
process.
that and that's the whole thing that I'm like, you got to be kidding. This has got to be a joke. She is upset because her son, who she lied to, and told her that the daddy wasn't the wrong daddy wasn't her real daddy until finally her sister, who seems to be relatively responsible, says, you know what? Let's find your real dad because she knew about it. And the reality of it is, if she had the son by one guy and she decides to get with another guy and she's like, hey, this is not your real dad, but this is your stepdad. That happens every day. But she decided that she is going to keep his father. How can she say it's the right thing for the kid? It's the right thing for her because it had everything to do with this.
But Tom, the Pew Research Center also has estimated that maybe this happens 1 out of 3 times. That maybe a third of the men that are paying child support are paying for children that are not there. So it's not just it's like not, I know we say mama's babies, daddy's maybes. All I can say is go get that paternity test and then get the answers that you need before you get on the hook for paying for the next 18 years paying child support for a child that may not be yours.
I mean, for what it's worth, the man has a right. I don't know how much money he's going to get in order to.
Tommy, what is he gonna get? She had to fraud him to get her bills paid. So what's the chance she got any money for him to get back? The
Exactly.
most he's going to do is maybe get it stopped if he's lucky. And he may not even get it stopped because sometimes, I know this firsthand, when this has been going on for so long and the courts award you guardianship of a child, they don't just take that away free willy, especially when a guy who's paying child support to switch it over to a guy who doesn't have any money. They may just tell him, you just SOL and you're going to continue to be the dad till he's 18 and you're going to continue to pay child support. So she may continue to get her money,
And
her bag.
who ends up really getting hurt on this is the child. The
Yes,
most.
Tom is a child. And then, like I said, she felt like she had been wrong because, who would go back and try to get their money back in this situation? Well, I would try to get my money back if I got frauded. I think if you were defrauded by someone, you would try to get your money back. You wouldn't just roll over and take it. But like I said, she made the logical, correct choice and did what she had to do, Tom.
She made
And
what she
she
considered to be the correct choice for her based upon what was going to pay her bills. And now she is out of her mind because she's trying to figure out maybe get a job.
and she doesn't see anything wrong with this. What she did,
She
none. She don't no remorse. She don't feel bad about it. She like this. Hey, this is just where it's supposed to be. I picked the right guy. What do you mean you picked the right guy?
And on top of that, the part that's really sad in listening to all of this is she said, you know what, he didn't spend any time with the child, but
No.
he paid child support on time, so everything worked out fine until all of a sudden my sister messed around and took him and ended up ratting on me. So
Ratting her out, Tom.
so the child is now devoid, has been devoid of a father, has found his biological father, and the only thing she's concerned about is herself. That
But
is
Tom, you got to get her bills paid, man. See, for wealthy people who don't think about paying bills, they don't give it much thought to that. But there are a lot of people out there, Tom, who got to figure out how to get their bills paid every month.
well, there is something called a job, Jimmy. Maybe she can start with a job. I mean, there are even with AI, there are still some jobs left.
There's still a few of them out there, Tom.
Exactly. I mean, it's stunning. Absolutely stunning. So let me the chat line. I hope we can get a couple of maybe I can see something
We
different
got
about this.
any comments, Tom, out there? Any
Not
comments on the chat line?
not yet. I'm pretty sure there may be a little bit of a tape delay on this, but I'm pretty sure we will get some. Let me see. Let me see. Nope, not yet. So I'm hoping we'll get a couple of chats on this. Maybe since we don't have any guys on the line. Oh, that's right. We got
No, we
Freddie.
got Esquire. We got Freddie.
Okay, maybe a couple of minutes we'll get a couple of comments on the chat. All right, let's I guess go to the next story or the
Next
next
story, Tom.
the
What's
next
more important, being a wife or having a husband? That's for the women.
being a wife or having a husband. Okay, and then obviously we're going to play the video to kind of get
Let's
her.
play the video because this is a question being asked on the video. Here we go.
Okay,
Women say they want to be wives, but I'm sorry, that is not true. What women really want is the experience of marriage, the ring, the wedding, the pictures, the lifestyle, and the status that comes with saying, I have a husband. And that is completely different from actually understanding what it means to be a wife, isn't it? A woman who truly wants to be a wife thinks completely different. She is not just asking,
what can this man give me? She's asking, what can we build together and what can I provide him? A woman looking for a husband, on the other hand, is focused on what she can get, what kind of life he can provide, what his income is, what his lifestyle can give her. How can he upgrade her life? But a woman who wants to be a wife is thinking about what she can bring to a man's life, which is what? Loyalty, peace, support, stability, emotional maturity, and the ability to stand behind him when life gets hard, because it will, not just when life is comfortable. And as you can see, a woman who is looking for a husband and the woman who is looking to be a wife, they're not the same woman. And a smart man learns early on how to spot that difference. He can feel when a woman wants to build a life with him and when a woman is simply wanting a life from him. And to be honest, I'm sorry guys, gotta call you out too. Men have a responsibility too. A man who lacks discipline, direction, leadership, and character has no business asking a woman to commit to her either. The problem that I see is that most people, they want the benefits of marriage, right? But very few people are actually preparing themselves for the role that comes with it, because it's serious. Women.
All right, Tom. So one little correction there. She said she mentioned her when she really meant that he has no right to demand loyalty when he's not. He may be a nice guy, but he's not a good husband. And we talked about this last week or the week before. When we talked about these betas, these guys who get married, the wives abuse them, don't respect them, really don't love them. After 3, 4 years, they doing everything they can to get rid of them. That's pretty much what she's talking about. They have no vision, they have no leadership, they don't stand up for themselves, they're very codependent, and they're weak and feckless on top of that. Um, but I will say, not to brag, but I mean, I do have a wife, and I have a biblical wife because when the Bible says that she would become a perfect creation for you, I have one of those. And when my wife is my ride or die. We don't. There's nothing we wouldn't do for each other when the chips are down. So, um, and that's how we. That's just how we roll and operate. It's not easy getting there. I'll be first to admit it's some hard work, but if you roll your sleeve up and do as the Bible tell you to do, towards being a husband and being a wife, you will get there because life is going to challenge you. And once you get past those challenges, Tom, you will create a heaven for yourself. So I would not be where I am right now if I didn't have a strong, solid wife right there with me, help me get through all of the mess and crap that we've gone through for the last 20 years. But but we got through it, Tom. We can hold our head up high. But weak men, soft men, these feckless guys, over feminine guys, betas, you don't get to this perfect creation in your life as for a wife. What you have is a ball buster for the ones that don't get divorced. There's a reason why 65% of college educated women who married a college sweetheart get divorced after 7 years. And it's not just a 7 year itch, Tom. It's that they can only stand it for about 4 years, and it takes them 3 years to figure out a way to get out. And the ones who don't get out, trust me, you're not going to be happy with them. And I know this because you talk to a lot of married guys who are very nice guys, but when they start complaining about their sex life and their love life and their wife being a ball buster, I already know because I used to be a beta. I already know what betas go through when they're married. I was a married beta back out of college. And so I know exactly what you go through when you're weak like that and don't have any leadership skills. You get taken advantage of, Tom.
So the question is, you've got a couple of comments on that I want to make sure. Got cousin Audrey K. True that. I'm just saying. I think that's in reference to the first video. We got Miss Tanya said very few people understand the importance of the covenant. Carol said I didn't. I'm not exactly sure what she was referring to. Nobody respects the true covenant of marriage. That's why these marriages are hokey pokey and henny penny nowadays. So I mean, the thing I guess I didn't need a man to upgrade my life. I always chose to be a wife. Okay, so I guess the thing that we have to look at are the influences on men and women, for that matter, in terms of what is developing their psychology when it comes to relationship and or marriage. Enough when we talk about the black community, it is kind of an anomaly, so to speak. because in terms of the demographics of our households for the last two generations, it is counter and contra to the majority of the rest of the country in terms of marriage or two income, or let's say a husband and a wife household. And so when you look at two generations of young people who are raised in a household primarily with one parent, majority mother, but in some cases you have a father who is in the household as well, it is going to be very difficult because a kid is going to emulate what they see, and that is one parent. Now you add to that mass media and how it socially engineers, whether you're talking about sitcoms, movies, or whatever it is you want to look at. My God, social media in terms of what it socially engineers our young people to. It's almost a miracle that you do have healthy marriages now, considering what I would consider to be the war on marriage that mass media has projected over the last two generations, Jimmy.
Yeah. Tom, and this is a really bad situation, so I'm going to continue to say this. Like the girl with the stepfather in the graduation.
Mhm.
When kids grow up watching their parents, especially the mother, abuse their father, the young boys are going to grow up with one or two ways. They're going to be weak like their father, and think that this is okay, or they're going to be resentful against women. And when they become adult young men, they're going to go out there and try to step on as many women as they possibly can, and to basically get back for what their father had to go through. And the young girls, when they grow up watching this themselves, they grew up exactly the same way, thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. That you're just supposed to be in charge and find a man that you can manipulate and run over and talk to any kind of way, have no respect for, no love for. As long as you go to work, keep that paycheck rolling in, and take care of your lifestyle, then that's the most important thing. So it's bad time we have weak fathers in the home. I'd say it's almost better to have no father in the home than a weak father. So, but we need to start teaching our young men to have self respect for themselves, to respect women, and to be leaders, and to have a strength of character, Tom, and to how to deal with things in life that they're going to need to be able to deal with as men, and bring that strength into a relationship, especially if you have a wife or the significant other who's a little insecure. Your strength is what cures the insecurity. But if you don't deal with the insecurity, over time, it's going to ruin the relationship.
And this is where, when you consider our native African culture that was not based upon the nuclear family, which is a Eurocentric philosophy when it comes to the family structure. In African culture, you're talking about
The
parents,
village concept,
aunts, grandparents,
right?
a collective family, and so you're not dependent on a father or a mother, but you're actually dependent on a in a family, parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents, great grandparents who are able to knowledge in terms of what relationships look like, what family looks like. Unfortunately, Jimmy, over the last three generations, that African-centered family culture and
It's
dynamic
gone.
and woven has unraveled as we have become less of an agrarian society, more of an urban society. And people have moved to cities to survive, to find jobs and things of that nature. And so, as a result of that, Jimmy, it is not going in the right direction. Ills within our community, the black community, is now visiting other communities as well.
Yeah, Tom, unfortunately. So, but we need to find a way to steer the ship back. I'm not saying that everything in the past was right, but there were some things that our ancestors did get right now that we should be able to draw on today. When we look at things they did right and things they did wrong, and project forward the things, carry forward the things that they did right in order to give ourselves a chance. So, um, Tom, I don't know where this is going to end if we keep on the path that we're going, especially for our community. I know other communities starting to go through it also, but we've been going through it.
Yeah.
And so, if anyone's going to get off this train first, we need to get off of it first because we've been on
Well,
it the
I would
longest.
I would say this, and I would agree, but it's going to be a very hard sell because a lot of this began with the transition legally and otherwise, institutionally and otherwise, from segregation into what was sold as integration, which was really just the unraveling of the black community, the unraveling of the black economy, the unraveling of the black family. And I don't know how you rebuild. I'm not saying rebuild segregation, but rebuild those communities when the reality of it is we don't control to my recollection, any significant institutions, not even black colleges, historically black colleges and universities, which are
Tom,
called.
we don't control none of it, man.
And,
You're absolutely correct.
and if you don't control your institutions, you don't control nothing.
We don't even control the economies of our neighborhoods. That we when we support the businesses in those neighborhoods, we own
Exactly.
very little. We provide
And
very few goods and services to our own people. We don't employ our. How in the hell world you have over 2.5 million black businesses, and you got one of the highest unemployment rates? If those 2.5 million black businesses would just hire one employee, one black employee, we would have zero unemployment in the black community.
that you're correct, but then the question is, that's a labor cost. Where do you get the money from when you look at the average revenue and profit of a black business, which is usually the vast majority is one person who's running the business, and they're trying to make sure that ends meet. And the reality of it is, you have a government that allows other communities and other businesses to scale through grants and other programs. And for whatever reason, systematically, it's the contra when it comes to our communities and our businesses, so to speak. So this is a part of the ongoing conversation when you talk about very subtle but systematic destruction of the black economy. And it starts with the government because most of these, even Elon Musk, the large majority of his money comes from government contracts.
One time, once again, so here we go. Uh, where is that Congressional Black Caucus to help us get those government contracts in, Tom? I mean that's something they should be leveraging. I mean the black community needs sidewalks repaired, they need the streets repaired, they need the infrastructure repaired. As the people in Flint, Michigan about the damn lead in the pipes when they got lead poisoning from drinking the water. All that need to be undone. Where are the black contracting firms to give those contracts to? That's what something the Congressional Black Caucus can leverage their weight, their vote to
Well,
either
and
side
some
to
of
get
that,
that.
the what some people will call the setups at the federal level have been dismantled over the last year. That's a fact.
Okay, well, once again, Tom, both sides want stuff done. And the Congressional Black Caucus with
Right.
50 votes could be the deciding factor on who gets what they want, Republicans or Democrats. And you
Well,
let them know that here are some things
uh,
that are important to us, that if you're willing
not
to
with
back
not not
these
with
things,
not when they're not.
tell them they don't have to be in power. They're the balance of power. That's my point. They don't have enough votes to get anything done. But when Republicans
Correct.
don't have
You're
enough
correct.
votes to get it
You're
done,
correct.
they only have a vote majority, and they always lose five or six Republicans along the way. The Democrats don't have enough votes to get what they want. Guess who's
But the
sitting right there in the
Republicans, but
middle?
the Republicans votes right now.
Tom, they only have they have a 5 vote majority in the
Correct.
House.
You're
They have a
correct.
2 vote majority in the Senate. They can't get anything
You
done in
are
the Senate because they can't get to 60. But in the House, they always lose 4 or 5 Republicans anyway who vote with the Democrats. If the Congressional Black Caucus would go to the Speaker and say, "Look, there's some contractors in my district that I don't know, they want to expand, they want to grow. Can we give them the contract to rebuild the sidewalk, to hire a few people, to expand?" Tom, that's what I'm talking about. Use your weight and say, "Hey, we're willing to vote with you on this if you give us that." And that don't mean you vote with Republicans all the damn time, but you can vote with them every now and then to get a few things done for your people. Tom, the Congressional Black Caucus does nothing for black people. They don't use any of their leverage. And when Democrats are in charge, like I said, when Biden was elected, the first thing he did was cut out money for HBCUs. And the Congressional Black Caucus said they weren't going to vote for his budget, unless he put the money back. Well, Tom, he didn't put the money back, and they voted for the budget because he got it passed. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, if you're not going to help us, don't hurt us. And you sit there and let Joe Biden hurt us over political favors and loyalty to the party. The party didn't put you in office. The people who voted for you put you in office. That's what your loyalty should be to. So you go out and you make a deal with the devil if you have to get whatever you need to get for them, for your district. The black districts that are controlled by black Democrats, Tom, are some of the worst. I gave you an example of Shreveport. It's in a black district right now. When you drive to Shreveport, notice how bad the freeways are. Notice how bad the streets are. But when you cross over that damn river and go into Bossier, which is a white district, all of a sudden the roads and the streets and everything gets better. Why? Because that representative fight for his district, whereas the black politicians don't do anything for their district. They don't go fight, they don't go leverage, they don't do anything. So I don't care if they go away. I don't care if every one of them get booted out of office. You wouldn't do anything to start with, so what are we going to lose at this point? Things may actually get better for us with different representation. I'm sorry, people. I don't mean to get so excited and vent, but um, I just abhor that organization, that group of people, because there's a lot more they can be doing for black people than they don't. And I wish it was different, regardless of
Just make sure,
party
but,
politics.
but make sure you understand what is a federal issue, what is a state issue, and then what is a local issue when it comes to the potholes in the roads, which is really more of a state and local issue, not a federal issue. But that's okay, Jimmy. But we are.
Tom,
It is a couple of minutes after
but okay, I don't know about Louisiana, but I know we have Texas out here, which builds a lot of freeways with federal money, and so you see stuff like in 35 been expanded down in Dallas, which is a Democrat stronghold. That's my point. Is that there's nothing wrong with you giving a vote to someone and demanding that they do something with that
I
vote.
would, I would agree, Jimmy, with that, and I think that is one area our communities lack some.
We don't complain enough, Tom.
Well, I would say this lacks political system sophistication. I mean, the reality of it is, Jimmy,
Okay, that's a good way of saying it.
but we actually grew up with civics classes, Jimmy. They don't have that anymore, and so quite frankly, the young people, who are coming up, they have significantly less understanding of how government works than we did because we actually had civics. And so again, that is a lack of education. Most parents are not going to be educated enough or astute enough unless they grew up in that environment to teach their kids civics, how the local, the state, and the federal government works among except the very basics, so that they can actually go out there and make some things happen for themselves. And so again, this is case in point where we as a country are being dumbed down. And this is
But
not
Tom,
just
whoever your representative is for your district, for your city council, for your school board, um, at the federal level, in the doesn't matter. These people will still work for you, and you have every
but you
right
got but you got to ask for something.
to reach out to their office if you're having trouble, if things are not right to your life, your parks are not clean, the streets are not properly maintained. Find your representative and write to them. Call them up, let them know that you're not happy about how things are being managed, and give them a chance to do something about it. If they don't, then you have your answer. You vote for whoever
Right.
runs
Because
against them the next time.
yeah, and I think, a lot of people, again, extremely wealthy and can sit around and do all to make something happen. I mean, two and three jobs, especially nowadays, just trying to make whatever the case is. But the reality of it is, you're going to have to write a check or send in a cash or a Zelle donation or whatever that looks like to you can have that council meeting. If you don't feel that you have aligned with an organization and them, someone who supports your interests, so that they can do the talking for you. If you're a nerd in terms of what happens in reality of it is, if you don't do it yourself, make sure that you does, whether that is some community or local organization. You can start with just the school, depending on school boards and things of that nature. Just starting with your school, and that's something that everyone can align with, whether it's your local government, city council meeting, school board, or whatever the case is. The further you get down the ballot, the closer and the more it impacts you. And that's something that you have to make time for. That's something that other people make time for and they get results. But when you don't even want to go to a PTA meeting, what kind of results you think you're going to get?
Nothing. And my wife, Tom, is very good at this. She writes and complains about things that she sees that are wrong. Like there was a pothole. There was an exit right off 75 that we have to take to get to our house, our subdivision. And we'd exit off the freeway, make the right turn, and hit this damn pothole every damn time. Even when you try to avoid it, it seems like you're still hitting it. But yeah, she started a campaign to complain about it, and I mean, they fill it in, and I mean, it comes right back because the ground is sinking up below it. But the point is that if you don't complain and say anything, nothing's going to get done.
There's an
So
old
when
boy,
people are allocating resources, yeah, you got to be that squeaky wheel. You want to get the oil.
right, and I'll make this very simple. Two statements. There's an old saying, closed mouths don't get fed. And the reality of it is, what government, what your elected representatives do, very simple. They determine where the money is going to go and what gets done with it and where it's going to go. If I say it's no simpler than that, whether you're talking about your city council person, your county
Right.
commissioner, your state representative or state senator, and or your federal representative, they sit down and argue about what the money's going to get spent for and who it's going to help. If you understand nothing more than that, then you got everything that you need to go and go out there, get your money because you're actually paying property taxes. You're paying
Your tax dollars, yes.
it's your money. It's going to get spent. So what a shame if your money is getting spent on someone else.
Yeah, we can complain about it being spent in other areas and then come to our areas of town, but if the people in that area don't say anything, it won't get spent there. So if people don't know you have a problem, or if they think you're okay with the way things are, they're going to leave it just like that. So they have no
Correct.
incentive whatsoever to do anything about it. So yeah, you have to let your voice be heard. What's the song? Rise up, Tom. Speak up, voice. So we got to let our voices be known. Speak
Oh,
up, people.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Before we go, Tom, any last comments in the chat line?
Let me see here. We got a couple of comments that I'll acknowledge here. See here. Wow, we got a couple of good comments. Didn't okay. Unfortunately, this is from Miss Carol. Unfortunately, since we're so spread out, the village child rearing does not work anymore. There's this thing called social media, so we can do that. Tanya Hall, what's wrong with the children is what's wrong with the parents that raised them. Interesting.
Yeah,
Miss
that's
Carol,
true.
the things needed in these communities have been needed for a long time. DIMS have been in power several times since these needs have emerged. Ms. Tanya Hall, the need of the community, the children in these communities has nothing to do with the political assignment. It has to do with their parental assignment in their homes. Ms. Audrey K, amen, Ms. Carol. Ms. Tanya, these children are a product of bad parenting. Miss Tanya, the last one, the formula that our parents and great great grandparents laid down for us has been done away with. That's the demise of the black community. You know, they did not have a lot of education, but they had a lot of common, a lot of motherhood, and they did a heck of a lot more with absolutely nothing that our generation has done with practically everything.
By the time they also had a belt and a switch if they needed it for some extra
Well,
motivation. So
before it was outlawed by the state. We couldn't discipline at home because you got parents afraid to discipline their kids because they think that they're going to come pick up their kids and then you can't get to schools anymore.
well, these kids may actually beat you up, Tom. So anyway, we ran a little late, but thanks everyone for hanging in there with us. Tom, why don't you go ahead and close us out, and then we'll end the show.
Want to thank everybody who joined us this evening, especially all of our great people in the chat line. You have been very good to us.
Thank
This is
you.
probably one of the best activity we've had in the chat line for a while. And of course, we're looking at this Wednesday night.
It's Black Men Speak.
Good night, everyone, and thank you.